In this video, we're going to start the journey of learning shortcuts to find derivatives. So using this limit definition every time you need to take a derivative would be very time consuming. You see there's a lot of simplification that needs to happen, a lot of mistakes you can make along the way. All right, so we're going to come up with some ways to simplify that process. And the first way is the power rule. All right, so it's called the power rule because it has to do with when you're taking the derivative, it's just x with a power. And the rule states this. The kind of shortcut you're going to do is you're going to just bring this exponent down in front of your x, and then you subtract 1 from whatever the number is. All right, so this is the power rule. Instead of doing this big, long process, we know this is kind of the outcome that always happens, so we can just use this shortcut. All right, so here's our first example. We have f of x equals x to the fourth. What is f prime of x? All right, well, our power rule shortcut says I take my exponent 4 and I bring it in front of the x, and then I'm going to subtract 1 from the exponent, and 4 minus 1 is 3. So the derivative of x to the fourth is 4x cubed. All right, what about this one? You can go ahead and try this on your own. All right, what is f prime of x if f of x equals x to the ninth? All right, one more second for you to figure it out, and then the answer is 9x to the eighth. All right, the 9 comes down in front. 9 minus 1 is 8. And then there's some things that don't look obviously like a power, but with some algebra rules, we can write them as a power. So one thing is roots. If you ever have an nth root of x, you can rewrite that as a fractional exponent. So in this case, we have the square root. We don't normally write the 2 here, but there is that 2 to represent the square root. This is the same as x to the 1/2. One mistake students make is they think just rewriting it with the exponent is the whole problem. That's just the first step, to write it as a power, and then I can use the power to find the derivative. I bring down the exponent, which is 1/2, and then my new exponent is when I subtract 1 up here. So 1/2 minus 1 is 1/2 minus 2 over 2, because I got to get a common denominator, and that's negative 1/2. This is 1/2 x to the negative 1/2. I can keep it like that. You could write it like this, right? Because a negative exponent moves something to the other side of the fraction, or you could write it like this. I think that bottom answer is the most simple, because when you're plugging numbers in, you like to see the square root versus the fractional exponent, but all of these are equal to the same thing. And here's the other thing that doesn't obviously look like something you can use the power rule for, because there's this fraction 1 over x squared. We have that 1 over x to the n is just a negative exponent. If there's ever an exponent on the denominator of a fraction, that's just a negative exponent. So this is the same as x to the negative 2. And again, that's just the rewriting process. That's not the power rule. The power rule says I bring down that negative 2, and I subtract 1 from this exponent. Minus 2 minus 1 is negative 3. Right, most common mistake here would be writing minus 1, because you're just doing 2 minus 1. But remember, 2 is already negative, so negative 2 minus 1 is negative 3. Again, you could keep it like that, but generally we would rewrite it like this, because we like seeing things with positive exponents. All right, so here's one for you to try on your own. Go ahead and find the derivative of 1 over x to the fifth. I'll show you the answer in 3, 2, 1. And just like the previous example, there's 2 ways you can write your answer. All right, if you rewrite this as a negative exponent, bring down negative 5, subtract 1, you get x to the negative 6, and then just rewriting with the positive, we move this back down to the bottom to make it a positive exponent. All right, so quick summary. All right, so you complete the power rule, you bring down the exponent to the front, and then subtract from the exponent. All right, roots can be written as fractional exponents, and you can use negative exponents to rewrite fractions. So those are the 2 kind of tricks you need to remember from algebra in order to do the power rule for a lot of different functions.